Welcome back to Making Things Simpler. Today we're talking about something sweet, fizzy, and slightly misleading. What exactly is root beer? And more importantly, why is it called beer if there's usually no alcohol in it? If you've never grown up with root beer, the name alone can be confusing. You hear beer and imagine something served at a bar. But then you taste it, and it's sweet, foamy, almost creamy, more like a dessert than a drink for adults. So what's going on here? Let's start with what root beer actually is. At its core, root beer is a soft drink flavored with a blend of roots, barks, herbs, and spices. Traditionally, the flavor came from ingredients like sassafras root, sarsaparilla, wintergreen, vanilla, licorice, and sometimes spices like nutmeg or clove. The result? A dark, sweet, slightly earthy soda that tastes unlike anything else on the shelf. And if you've ever had a root beer float, that magical mix of vanilla ice cream and fizzy root beer, you know how iconic that creamy foam can be. But here's something surprising. Modern root beer usually doesn't contain actual roots anymore. Most large-scale brands rely on artificial flavorings designed to mimic the traditional herbal blend. The taste remains familiar, but the recipe has evolved quite a bit. So where did this unusual drink begin? Long before it was a soda, root beer started as medicine. Indigenous communities in North America used roots like sassafras and sarsaparilla in herbal remedies. These plants were believed to have cleansing or healing properties. When European settlers arrived, they adopted many of these traditions and began brewing their own herbal tonics. In the 1700s and 1800s, these brews became known as small beers. Despite the name, they were often very low in alcohol, sometimes barely alcoholic at all. Fermentation made them safer to drink than untreated water, and the herbal ingredients gave them flavor. Among these early drinks, one brewed with sassafras root became especially popular. Over time, that drink evolved into what we now call root beer. Now let's talk about the name. Originally, root beer actually was fermented. It contained small amounts of alcohol, similar to ginger beer or birch beer. The word beer made sense at the time because of the brewing process and carbonation. But as commercial production grew in the late 19th century, manufacturers removed fermentation to create a completely non-alcoholic product. It was easier to control, safer to sell, and more consistent in flavor. Yet the name stuck. And that wasn't an accident. One key figure in popularizing root beer was Charles Hires, a pharmacist from Philadelphia in the 1870s. He developed a root-based drink mix and began marketing it widely. Interestingly, he initially called it root tea, but he later changed the name to root beer. Why? Because he believed the word beer would appeal more to working-class consumers. It sounded bold, familiar, adult. It worked. Root beer became a hit, especially as a family-friendly alternative to alcohol. During Prohibition in the United States, when alcoholic beverages were banned, root beer and other sodas gained even more popularity. Soda fountains became social hubs, and root beer became part of American culture. But there was another twist waiting. One of the defining flavors of traditional root beer came from sassafras root. It gave the drink its distinctive aroma and earthy sweetness. However, in the 1960s, scientists identified a compound in sassafras called safrole, which was linked to cancer in laboratory studies. As a result, the US government banned safrole in food and beverages. Manufacturers reformulated their recipes using artificial flavorings or safrole-free extracts. Some people argue that root beer lost a bit of its original character after that shift. Others appreciate the consistency and safety of modern versions. Either way, the drink adapted and survived. Interestingly, root beer is very much a North American phenomenon. In many parts of Europe and Asia, the flavor can be shocking. Some first-time tasters describe it as tasting like toothpaste or cough syrup. That is largely due to the wintergreen and menthol-like notes that aren't too commonly used in sweet beverages elsewhere. Still, with the rise of craft soda companies and specialty shops, root beer has started to gain niche popularity overseas. Today, when someone asks, is root beer actually beer? The answer is simple, not anymore. Most root beer contains zero alcohol. The word beer is a historical leftover, a reminder of its fermented origins and clever marketing. That said, alcoholic versions do exist. Some modern breweries produce hard root beer with alcohol content similar to regular beer. But those are specialty products, not the standard soda you'd find in a supermarket. So what is root beer really? It's part herbal remedy, part marketing success story, part American nostalgia. It began as a homemade tonic brewed from roots and bark. It evolved into a lightly fermented drink. Then it transformed again into a completely alcohol-free soda that still carries the old name. It's not quite tea, not quite beer, not quite like anything else. And that's what makes it interesting. Because sometimes the most ordinary items, a fizzy drink, a familiar label, carry centuries of history beneath the foam. And root beer? It might not be beer anymore. But its roots go deeper than most people realize. Thanks for watching Making Things Simpler. If you have a topic you'd like us to explore next, leave it in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories hidden inside everyday words.